detaches, everything changes. The atmosphere shifts, the conversation feels different, and suddenly the man who once seemed indifferent begins to notice every move she makes. Detachment is not coldness, it is not pride. It is not silence for the sake of manipulation. Detachment is awareness. It is the moment a woman wakes up to the truth that her worth was never supposed to be negotiated by attention, approval, or affection from a man. Detachment is when a woman finally sees herself through the eyes of the one who made her, not through the mirror of who desires her. Every woman carries an invisible power that is not found in beauty, words, or charm. It is found in value. But value must be hidden to be respected. The moment something becomes too available, it becomes too common. And what is common will never be pursued with passion. Men are designed to pursue, not possess easily. When a woman detaches emotionally, mentally, and spiritually from the constant need to be seen, she creates mystery, and mystery draws pursuit. The truth is, men are not captivated by neediness. They are captivated by confidence. The same woman who cries for his attention may never realize that her tears aren't moving him. Her strength would have. Detachment is not about pretending you don't care. It's about learning to care correctly. It's about redirecting your emotional energy back to your purpose, your peace, and your personal growth. When a woman detaches, she doesn't lose love, she regains herself. And that shift in energy is magnetic. You see, attachment is the emotional chain that keeps a woman's worth tied to external validation. It's that whisper that says, if he notices me, I matter. But detachment is the spiritual revelation that says, I mattered before he noticed me. When a woman lives from that awareness, she changes the dynamic of every relationship. Suddenly, she is not begging for love. She is embodying it. She's not competing for attention, she commands it. When a woman detaches, she stops chasing conversations that go nowhere. She stops defending herself in situations that don't deserve her words. She stops trying to explain her value to people who are too blind to see it. And that silence, that calm, confident silence, becomes louder than any argument. A man may not understand it at first, but deep inside, he feels the loss. Not the loss of her presence, but the loss of her energy. Her peace was feeding his pride. Her patience was covering his immaturity, and her loyalty was protecting his insecurity. When she detaches, he feels the absence of what once filled him. A detached woman doesn't walk away angry, she walks away aware. She doesn't slam doors, she simply locks them. She doesn't shout to be understood, she moves where she is valued. Detachment is not an escape, it's elevation. It's when a woman realizes that her love was too deep for someone who refused to swim. She doesn't drown trying to save someone who chose the shallow end. When a woman learns to detach, she becomes dangerous to manipulation. Because you can't control someone who doesn't need your approval. You can't play with emotions that are no longer for sale. Detachment exposes intentions because when a woman no longer reacts, the truth of the man's character appears. If his love was real, he will pursue her with purpose. If it was convenience, he will vanish into silence. Either way, she wins. The secret that many women miss is that detachment is not about disinterest, it's about discernment. You can still love someone deeply and yet be detached from their behavior. You can still care but choose not to chase. You can still feel but choose not to fold. Detachment gives a woman her spiritual posture back. She stands tall again, not because she has everything figured out, but because she finally stopped shrinking to fit what never saw her correctly. There is a sacred confidence that rises when a woman detaches from emotional chaos. She starts to glow differently. Her conversations become fewer but more meaningful. Her laughter becomes softer but more genuine. Her silence begins to speak, a language only maturity understands. And it is in that silence that men begin to realize she was never the problem, she was the piece they couldn't handle. Detachment is the boundary between love and self-loss. It's what keeps a woman from becoming consumed by someone else's inconsistency. It's not built on bitterness, it's built on balance. It says, I can love you, but I will not lose me. When a woman reaches that point, her energy shifts. The same man who once ignored her texts now feels anxious about her absence. The same man who dismissed her emotions now craves her attention. The same man who thought she would always wait begins to wonder if she's gone for good. But here's the powerful truth. Detachment is not a strategy to make a man chase you. It's the natural result of a woman who finally understands her divine design. When she understands her source, she stops begging for supply. She no longer prays for someone to choose her. She thanks God for showing her who didn't deserve her. Detachment turns her prayers from Lord, make him love me, to Lord, make me strong enough to love myself. When a woman detaches, her priorities change. She starts to invest in her peace more than people. She starts to value her alone time more than meaningless attention. She becomes selective with her words, her energy, and her presence. And that selectiveness creates scarcity, and scarcity increases value. That is why men can't resist a woman who detaches, because she becomes rare in a world where everyone is desperate to be noticed. The detached woman doesn't chase trends. She sets standards. She doesn't follow validation. She follows vision. She doesn't compromise to be chosen. She aligns to be recognized. And when she does, she becomes the type of woman that doesn't need to prove anything. Her energy proves everything. Every man, no matter how confident, is drawn to a woman who knows who she is. Not because she is perfect, but because she is peaceful. Peace is power. Detachment makes a woman peaceful because she no longer lives in the prison of what if. She doesn't overthink texts, she doesn't analyze silence, and she doesn't rehearse rejection. She simply moves forward, knowing that what's meant for her will never need to be forced. That kind of faith-filled peace is irresistible. Detachment doesn't mean she stops loving. It means she starts loving differently. She loves without losing boundaries. She gives without losing balance. She cares without collapsing. She still loves deeply, but wisely. She still believes in connection, but only where there is consistency. She's not hard, she's healed. And that healing looks like distance to those who were used to her dependence. Men are attracted to mystery, but they are transformed by maturity. Detachment gives birth to both. When a woman detaches, she creates mystery because she's no longer predictable. And she displays maturity because she's no longer reactive. That combination draws a man closer, not because she's trying to, but because her spirit demands respect. Detachment is the graduation from emotional dependency to divine alignment. It is when a woman finally understands that her worth is not determined by who she's with, but by who she's becoming. That awareness makes her glow with a different kind of beauty, not the beauty that fades with time, but the one that grows with peace. Men can't resist that kind of beauty because it speaks to something spiritual within them. It reminds them of purpose, order, and respect. A detached woman doesn't argue to be seen. She walks in silence and lets her peace announce her transformation. She's not competing anymore. She's complete. She's not waiting anymore. She's walking. And as she walks, everything that's not aligned with her peace begins to fall away. That's why detachment is so powerful. It's not about losing anyone. It's about finding yourself again. Detachment doesn't make a woman emotionless. It makes her emotionally intelligent. She can feel without being controlled by feeling. She can love without losing her logic. She can give without being drained. She becomes balanced, and balance is beauty in motion. Men may not be able to define why they can't stop thinking about a detached woman, but deep down, it's because she carries the scent of freedom. Freedom is attractive. A free woman is untouchable in spirit. She's not bound by attention, not controlled by opinion, and not weakened by rejection. Her soul is steady, and her focus is forward. That is why men can't resist women who detach. Not because they play games, but because they stop playing themselves. Not because they ignore men, but because they no longer idolize them. Detachment is not rebellion, it's revelation. It's the divine awakening that says, I am enough, even when unchosen. And that kind of woman, peaceful, poised, and purposeful, is irresistible, not just to men, but to destiny itself. A woman who learns emotional control becomes unstoppable. The world teaches her to react, to prove, to defend, to explain. But emotional control teaches her to stand still and watch the storm pass without letting it touch her spirit. Most women think men are drawn to beauty, charm, or even submission, but the truth is deeper. Men are drawn to the mystery of restraint. When a woman can stay calm in the middle of chaos, she becomes magnetic. Emotional control is not silence. It's strength wrapped in grace. Every man, consciously or subconsciously, studies a woman's emotions. He doesn't always listen to what she says. He observes how she responds. When she cries over every distance, argues over every delay, or panics over every uncertainty, he realizes she has not yet mastered her inner world. But when she remains composed, when she speaks with calm, when she listens more than she reacts, when she walks away without drama, she communicates a power that words can never express. Emotional control is the hidden language of influence. It doesn't shout, it shifts the atmosphere. Emotional control is not about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about choosing not to let pain make your decisions. It's the strength to cry privately but show peace publicly. It's the ability to feel deeply but act wisely. That is the language men understand but cannot explain. They feel drawn to it because it represents what they crave but often lack: stability. A stable woman doesn't compete for control. She already has it internally. A woman who controls her emotions doesn't give energy to confusion. She doesn't chase explanations from people who have already shown inconsistency. She doesn't beg for closure because she knows her peace is not dependent on an apology. Her emotional control protects her from manipulation. A man can't guilt her, provoke her, or confuse her into submission because she no longer reacts to everything that moves. Her silence becomes power. Her patience becomes wisdom, and her composure becomes her armor. Emotional control separates the powerful from the desperate. The woman who controls her emotions rules her relationships, not through dominance, but through discernment. She knows when to speak and when to stay silent. She knows when to engage and when to walk away. She knows that not every battle deserves her energy. She stops trying to win arguments that only drain her peace. Her strength is quiet, but it speaks loudly. Men test emotional boundaries more than they realize. They may withdraw to see how she reacts. They may provoke to see how she responds. When she meets those moments with patience instead of panic, she communicates a message stronger than any words. I am not moved by your silence. I am grounded in my peace. That is what captures a man's respect. Because in a world full of emotional noise, a calm woman becomes unforgettable. Emotional control is the foundation of self-respect. It is the invisible boundary that protects a woman's dignity when emotions want to take over. When a woman refuses to scream for validation, she rises above emotional warfare. She doesn't compete with other women. She doesn't chase explanations from unavailable men. She doesn't seek attention. She attracts it through her stillness. Her calm becomes the magnet that draws serious energy and repels childish games. When a woman masters emotional control, she redefines what power looks like. Power is not dominance, it's discipline. It's the decision to choose peace when pride wants to speak. It's the ability to sit in silence when confusion tempts you to demand answers. It's the art of letting go without announcing it. Emotional control makes a woman unpredictable, and that unpredictability keeps a man intrigued because he realizes she is not easy to read, and what cannot be easily read cannot be easily used. The truth is, emotions are powerful, but uncontrolled emotions are destructive. When a woman allows every feeling to dictate her actions, she becomes exhausted and reactive. But when she governs her emotions, she becomes intentional. Her words carry weight. Her actions carry meaning. Her presence carries authority. That's the difference between being emotional and being empowered. Empowered women still feel everything, but they are no longer slaves to what they feel. Men can't resist women who know how to master their emotional space, because such women radiate balance. Balance is beauty in motion. The calmness in her tone, the patience in her posture, and the confidence in her silence all communicate one truth: she is in control of herself. And when a woman controls herself, she controls the direction of her relationships, not through fear, but through respect. Emotional control also changes how a woman prays, speaks, and moves. She doesn't cry out of panic. She prays out of purpose. She doesn't vent to everyone. She confides in God. She doesn't waste time trying to change people. She changes her perspective. Her emotions no longer lead her, they serve her. That's what maturity looks like. It's not about feeling less. It's about managing more. Emotional control is power in disguise because it removes the need for reaction. Reaction is weakness disguised as care. A woman who constantly reacts gives others the remote control to her peace. Every silence triggers her. Every change in tone destabilizes her. Every delay makes her question her worth. But when she matures emotionally, she takes that remote back. She realizes she doesn't have to respond to every message, attend every argument, or explain every decision. She becomes selective with her peace. A woman who practices emotional control doesn't rush to prove her innocence or explain her side. She knows time will reveal truth better than her words ever could. She doesn't justify her silence. She lets her consistency speak for her. She doesn't retaliate when disrespected. She withdraws with dignity. That kind of composure confuses immature men because they expect drama, not discipline. And when they don't get a reaction, they are forced to face their own immaturity. Every emotionally controlled woman has learned through pain. She has cried enough to understand the cost of losing control. She has reacted enough to see how peace slips away when emotions lead. She has been misunderstood enough to realize that explanation is often wasted on those determined not to understand. So she chooses peace not because she's weak, but because she's wise. Emotional control is not natural. It's trained. It's learned through heartbreak, disappointment, and divine revelation. When a woman reaches the stage of emotional control, she stops expecting emotional maturity from those who haven't earned it. She stops trying to heal people who enjoy being broken. She stops lowering her energy to be understood. Instead, she rises to clarity. Her emotions no longer sit in the driver's seat, her vision does. Her life begins to align with purpose instead of reaction. Emotional control transforms attraction into admiration. A man might be drawn to beauty, but he stays for peace. And peace is the result of emotional balance. When a woman carries peace, she carries power. Men are drawn to peaceful women not because they are passive, but because they are powerful in the right places. They bring calm into chaos, direction into confusion, and grace into disorder. Emotional control turns a woman from ordinary to extraordinary. She becomes the woman a man cannot forget. It's important to understand that emotional control doesn't mean indifference. It means wisdom. It means knowing when to show emotion and when to protect it. It means understanding that not every moment deserves your full heart, and not every disappointment deserves your full attention. Some things are not worth your reaction. Some people are not worth your explanation. Emotional control helps you see the difference. When a woman controls her emotions, she also controls her destiny. Because emotions are the fuel of decisions. Uncontrolled emotions create impulsive choices. Controlled emotions create intentional outcomes. A woman who reacts less decides better. She chooses from peace, not pressure. And choices made from peace are always stronger. Men instinctively recognize the difference between emotional chaos and emotional control. The woman who panics when ignored teaches him that her peace depends on his attention. The woman who stays calm when neglected teaches him that her peace depends on her purpose. The first one is replaceable. The second one is irreplaceable. Because she's not emotionally enslaved, she's emotionally anchored. Anchored women are dangerous to confusion. They don't fall for manipulation disguised as affection. They don't get swayed by words without action. They don't crumble when affection is withdrawn. They stand firm, knowing that real love is not proven by emotional highs and lows, but by consistency and clarity. The woman who controls her emotions doesn't just gain respect, she gains leverage. She influences without effort. Her calmness creates curiosity. Her confidence commands attention. Her boundaries invite pursuit. Men find themselves drawn to her without understanding why. Because she embodies what every man subconsciously seeks. Emotional safety. She feels like peace, not pressure. Emotional control is divine wisdom in motion. It allows a woman to respond from strength instead of reacting from pain. It teaches her to wait for clarity before making conclusions. It helps her see through manipulation and choose discernment. It gives her the grace to handle disrespect without lowering her standards. It empowers her to walk away, not in anger, but in awareness. When a woman controls her emotions, she controls her energy. And energy is attraction. A peaceful woman's energy can't be faked. It's soft but strong, gentle but firm, humble but confident. That's why emotional control is irresistible. It's rare. In a world of loud reactions and constant comparison, the woman who chooses calm stands out like light in darkness. The emotionally controlled woman doesn't seek revenge. She lets peace be her proof. She doesn't expose others. She elevates herself. She doesn't gossip about who hurt her. She grows beyond them. She knows the best response to immaturity is maturity. The best revenge to rejection is redirection. Emotional control turns pain into power and heartbreak into wisdom. In the end, emotional control is not about what happens around you, it's about what happens within you. It's not about changing people. It's about mastering yourself. And that mastery is what makes a woman unforgettable. Because beauty fades, charm shifts, but emotional strength, that lasts. That's the kind of woman men respect, crave, and can't resist. Not because she hides emotion, but because she holds it with grace. When a woman detaches, the masks begin to fall. Detachment is the divine spotlight that reveals what was hidden in the shadows of affection. As long as a woman is emotionally available, giving, and responsive, a man can play his part, saying what she wants to hear and doing just enough to keep her attention. But when she detaches, when her energy shifts, her communication slows, her presence becomes less available, truth surfaces. Detachment doesn't change a man, it simply uncovers who he truly is. A man's intentions are rarely visible in moments of comfort. They are revealed in moments of distance. As long as a woman keeps feeding his ego, he stays. But when the supply stops, his purpose is tested. Detachment becomes the ultimate test of love versus convenience. Does he pursue because he values her, or does he vanish because the chase was all he ever wanted? Every woman who learns detachment learns to see with new eyes. She stops asking questions like, why did he change? And starts realizing, he didn't change. I just stopped providing what he came for. When a woman detaches, she stops offering emotional currency for free. Suddenly, the man who was always around starts to show his true motivation. If he was there for attention, he will look for someone new to feed that need. If he was there for validation, he will disappear once it's no longer given. But if he was there for connection, purpose, and truth, he will stay, because detachment doesn't scare a real man. It attracts him. The man who is genuinely connected to her spirit doesn't panic when she detaches. He steps closer, not to control her, but to understand her. Detachment reveals the maturity level of a man. Immature men mistake detachment for rejection. Mature men recognize it as reflection. The immature one takes distance personally and retaliates with silence or pride. The mature one sees distance as a signal, an opportunity to rise, to adjust, to prove consistency. Detachment draws a line between boys who crave comfort and men who crave growth. Because boys chase excitement, but men chase purpose. And purpose-driven men are not intimidated by a woman's independence, they're inspired by it. A woman who detaches sends a silent message. I am not your option. I am your mirror. Her detachment becomes a reflection of his character. How he handles her space tells her everything she needs to know about his intentions. If he respects it, he respects her. If he mocks it, he fears losing control. If he ignores it, he never valued her presence in the first place. A man's reaction to detachment is louder than his words during affection. Detachment strips away pretense and exposes truth. Every woman must understand that detachment is not a game, it is revelation. It's not about manipulating emotions, it's about measuring consistency. When a woman detaches, she is not punishing him, she is protecting herself. She is observing what his words cannot hide. Because anyone can act in love when everything is convenient. But only the real remain consistent when distance demands effort. Detachment reveals if his pursuit was about her soul or his ego. There's something spiritual about detachment. It's as if heaven whispers to a woman, "Step back and watch what's real." When she obeys that whisper, the fog lifts. The man who once seemed irreplaceable starts to reveal cracks of immaturity. His attention grows sporadic. His communication becomes surface level. And the woman once blinded by emotion begins to see clearly. Detachment doesn't only expose his intentions, it exposes her illusions. She realizes she was in love with potential, not reality. She was nurturing a fantasy, not partnership. Detachment opens her eyes, and that clarity is both painful and powerful. A man's true heart is revealed in how he responds when a woman stops giving him emotional access. Does he honor her boundary, or does he test it? Does he seek understanding, or does he shift blame? Detachment turns affection into X-ray vision. It shows what's beneath the charm. If he truly loves her, he will respect the distance and come back with purpose. If he was only attached to her availability, he will disappear and call her cold to justify his own inconsistency. Detachment is a woman's truth serum. It reveals the motives of those who surround her. Because as long as she is emotionally invested, she cannot discern clearly. Her feelings cloud her vision. Her attachment makes excuses for red flags. But once she detaches, she no longer explains or defends. She simply observes. And in that observation, patterns emerge. The same man who claimed to love her suddenly stops trying. The one who made promises suddenly forgets them. That's when detachment does its greatest work. It separates commitment from convenience. Detachment is not loud. It doesn't need confrontation. It doesn't require closure. It just requires distance. A woman who detaches no longer fights for attention. She watches who fights for her presence. She stops overextending, over-explaining, and over-loving. She moves back into her lane, her purpose, her peace. And from that place, she watches the truth unfold naturally. Real love moves closer. Counterfeit love fades away. Men who are genuinely interested in a woman's growth understand detachment as strength, not rejection. They see her composure as beauty, her silence as confidence, and her boundaries as self-respect. But men who rely on control see detachment as a threat because it exposes what they were hiding behind affection. Fear of losing dominance, fear of accountability, fear of facing themselves. That's why detachment is not just a relationship test. It's a character test. It tells her what his love was built on ego or essence. The beauty of detachment is that it forces alignment. When a woman detaches, she's no longer available for half love, half effort, or half truths. She creates space for what is authentic. And in that space, truth either steps forward or walks away. Either way, she wins. Because detachment doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't beg, it invites. It doesn't argue, it reveals. Every man's intentions are revealed by how he handles a woman's independence. The man who was there for the thrill will vanish when she finds peace. But the man who was there for destiny will rise when she finds purpose. Detachment exposes which one he is. Because love is not proven by words when everything is easy. It's proven by action when connection feels distant. When a woman detaches, she regains her emotional center. She's no longer asking, what did I do wrong? Instead, she asks, what is this situation teaching me? She shifts from emotional dependency to spiritual discernment. And in that shift, she begins to notice patterns she once ignored. She sees how he only called when he needed something, how he avoided accountability, how he loved her presence but never pursued her purpose. Detachment teaches her to see patterns over promises. A man's reaction to detachment is one of life's greatest filters. The right one will value the space and seek understanding. The wrong one will interpret it as rejection and seek replacement. That's why detachment saves time. It shows who was temporary before heartbreak can do more damage. When a woman detaches, she no longer has to ask for clarity. She watches behavior reveal it. Detachment also exposes a man's level of emotional intelligence. Immature men panic when a woman stops chasing. They assume she's playing games. Mature men pause and reflect. They ask questions. They listen. They adjust. The immature respond with pride. The mature respond with purpose. Detachment is like spiritual sunlight. It forces hidden motives to either blossom or burn. Many women fear detachment because they think it will push him away. But the truth is, detachment never pushes the right man away. It only filters out the wrong one. Detachment doesn't destroy connection, it purifies it. It removes the noise of manipulation so that only truth remains. If he truly loves her, detachment won't scare him. It will challenge him to love better. When a woman detaches, she gives space for divine alignment. The wrong people leave, and the right ones step forward. The wrong love fades, and the right love grows. Detachment allows destiny to rearrange her relationships according to purpose. And purpose always reveals truth. Because truth can't hide in silence, it either grows stronger or it dies. Detachment doesn't just expose a man's intentions, it exposes his capacity. Some men have good hearts, but low capacity. They love in fragments, not fullness. Detachment helps a woman see that love without consistency is confusion. She stops trying to teach grown men how to treat her. She stops carrying the emotional weight of two people. She lets go and watches what's real remain. A detached woman learns to stop rescuing potential. She realizes that if her presence doesn't inspire growth, her absence will reveal truth. She doesn't chase, she checks alignment. She doesn't plead, she prays. She doesn't explain, she evolves. And through that evolution, she sees who was there for her energy versus who was there for her essence. Men can't hide behind words when a woman detaches, because now their actions become the only language she listens to. Detachment exposes double standards, emotional immaturity, and inconsistency. It teaches her what love is not, so she can recognize what love truly is. Detachment is a divine filter that cleanses her path from counterfeit connections and empty promises. When a woman detaches, she's not giving up, she's growing up. She's not punishing anyone, she's protecting herself. Detachment allows her to observe without emotion, to see without illusion, and to discern without confusion. It's the place where love stops being blind and starts being wise. And wisdom always exposes truth. That's why detachment is irresistible, because truth is attractive. A woman who knows how to detach walks with clarity. And clarity is magnetic. Men may not understand it, but they feel it. They feel the shift. They feel the difference between a woman who needs them and a woman who chooses them. Detachment makes that difference visible. So when a woman detaches, she doesn't lose love, she gains vision. And in that vision, she finally sees who's genuine, who's playing, and who was never meant to stay. Detachment doesn't ruin relationships, it reveals them. It doesn't make love impossible, it makes it authentic. And in that revelation, a woman discovers her greatest strength, the power to see truth without breaking, and to walk away without hate. A detached woman holds a power that most men cannot comprehend until it's too late. Detachment is not about ignoring, neglecting, or punishing. It is about rising above dependency, reclaiming her energy, and creating space for authenticity. When a woman detaches, she no longer operates from fear of loss or desire for control. She operates from awareness of her own worth. And that awareness transforms her entire presence, making her magnetic to men who are focused on purpose, vision, and genuine connection. Purpose-driven men are not drawn to chaos, uncertainty, or drama. They are not attracted to neediness or desperation. They are drawn to stability, clarity, and women who carry themselves with intentionality. A detached woman embodies these qualities naturally because she has learned to step back, observe, and protect her energy. Detachment teaches her to prioritize growth over validation, peace over approval, and alignment over attachment. That alignment resonates with men who operate from higher intentions because it mirrors their own values. Detachment is a test, a filter, and a declaration all at once. It tells a man, without saying a word, that she cannot be swayed by distraction or manipulation. She does not tolerate inconsistency. She does not accept half-hearted commitment. A detached woman does not chase. She draws. She does not plead. She attracts. And that shift is shocking to men who once assumed she was entirely within their control. The same man who took her presence for granted suddenly finds himself fascinated by the calm confidence she exudes. He may not admit it, but the truth is undeniable. She has become irresistible. Men are instinctively drawn to energy that is rare, and detachment makes a woman rare. Her attention is no longer easily given. Her affection is no longer a guarantee. Her time is no longer negotiable. These are not barriers. They are invitations. Invitations to step up, to show consistency, to demonstrate real intention. Purpose-driven men respond to these invitations naturally because they operate from vision rather than impulse. They are not distracted by games. They are motivated by alignment. Detachment transforms a woman's communication, presence, and interaction. She speaks less, listens more, and engages selectively. Her laughter is deeper, her words are weighted, and her silence carries authority. Men notice the difference, even if they cannot articulate why. That difference is power. It is subtle, yet undeniable. A detached woman is no longer just another option. She becomes a standard. The bar is raised, and only those willing to step up can meet it. Purpose-driven men are drawn to women who reflect self-mastery because it signals emotional intelligence, resilience, and spiritual alignment. A woman who detaches does not rely on external validation. She relies on inner strength. That inner strength communicates stability, maturity, and reliability. All qualities men seek, often without realizing it. The magnetism of a detached woman is not in what she gives to men, but in what she refuses to compromise. Detachment also sharpens discernment. A woman who has mastered the art of stepping back can see through pretense and manipulation instantly. She can tell who is invested in her essence versus who is attracted to convenience. This clarity eliminates wasted energy, ensures alignment with genuine intentions, and creates a magnetic aura that draws men who are serious about purpose. The wrong men will be repelled, often unconsciously, because they cannot handle consistency, depth, or truth. The right men will be pulled in, almost involuntarily, because they recognize the rare presence of authenticity. Detachment is an exercise in patience, self-respect, and spiritual alignment. It requires letting go of immediate gratification and embracing long-term fulfillment. A detached woman does not bend to pressure. She stands firm in her principles. She does not compromise for attention. She waits for alignment. She does not beg for love. She demonstrates readiness. And men who operate from purpose recognize this. Instantly, they understand that the woman who is selective with her presence is also selective with her life, and they are drawn to that selective wisdom. The power of detachment lies in its subtlety. It is not loud, it is profound. Men may underestimate it initially because it does not resemble traditional strategies of allure. There are no games, no manipulation, no desperation. Instead, there is presence, peace, and self-possession. That contrast shocks men who are used to control and emotional dominance. They are compelled to rethink their approach, their priorities, and their intentions. Detachment forces them to confront themselves. Are they worthy of someone who no longer plays to their ego? Are they prepared to match her level of self-mastery? A detached woman's boundaries are not just lines, they are tests. They reveal effort, consistency, and integrity. Men who ignore these boundaries demonstrate their true intentions. Those who respect them signal authenticity. In a world where most people respond to fear of loss, a detached woman flips the dynamic. She becomes a prize that is not given away carelessly. And that prize is irresistible to those who are serious about legacy, impact, and meaningful connection. Purpose-driven men are looking for partners who elevate their mission, not distract from it. A detached woman embodies focus, clarity, and self-control qualities that enhance rather than detract from a man's purpose. When she aligns her life with divine timing, spiritual awareness, and personal growth, she becomes a catalyst for the right man. Her detachment is not absence, it is refinement. It removes what is unworthy and amplifies what is essential. Detachment is shocking because it inverts expectations. Men accustomed to constant access and predictable reactions are suddenly faced with a woman who is neither needy nor dependent. She has a presence that commands respect without demanding it. She has an independence that invites admiration without threatening intimacy. She has a discernment that exposes character without accusation. That combination is both magnetic and intimidating, and it separates boys from men. The shocking truth is this: detachment makes a woman irresistible, not by increasing her appeal, but by revealing her standards. Men are drawn not to what she does for them, but to who she has become. A woman who detaches demonstrates mastery over herself, a clarity of purpose, and a refusal to settle for less than divine alignment. That kind of energy cannot be faked, manipulated, or coerced. It commands pursuit because it represents what every man secretly wants, but few can find. A woman who is whole, confident, and unshakable. And here is the most shocking reality of all. The men who are truly worth her time will begin to chase, not because she is playing hard to get, but because she is no longer available for mediocrity. Her detachment exposes the uncommitted, repels the selfish, and draws the worthy. By stepping back, she forces authenticity and integrity to surface. And when a purpose-driven man realizes he cannot have her without proving his own alignment, he is compelled to rise or be left behind. Detachment is not a strategy, it is revelation. It is not absence, it is power. It is not rejection, it is discernment. A woman who detaches becomes a mirror to men's intentions, a magnet to purpose, and a filter for authenticity. She is no longer playing the game of love as she once knew it. She is creating a new standard. And in that new standard, only the men with vision, integrity, and genuine desire can remain. The shocking, undeniable ending is this: when a woman fully detaches, the world shifts around her. Men scramble to prove themselves. Pretenders vanish. Opportunists falter. And the man who was meant to align with her, purpose will stop at nothing to rise to her level. Detachment does not make her less lovable. It makes her unforgettable. It does not make her unreachable. It makes her desired. And the world, unprepared for her power, finally understands the truth. A woman who detaches is not just irresistible, she is invincible.